Hello and welcome to Westbridge Model Railway and this latest update, which I'm calling my summer update and news. So yes, it has been a little while since the last update from here, which was, could it be a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit more now. But there are good reasons for that, which I shall break down for you in a moment. Also in this video, I'm going to be talking about DCC chipping of locos and showing you how I've been doing some of those and the different types of chips and the older DC locos and how they've been done. Also be looking at a little bit of the track work that I need to do here. There have been a few problems which have cropped up during some of the running sessions. Talking of running sessions, there'll also be a couple of those for you in here as well. And then I'll be looking ahead to what I've got coming up during the next month or two. So stay tuned and roll the titles. Yes, I'm recording this at the end of August, and as I would say, probably about 98% of my subscribers are from the UK. You won't need me to tell you that the weather has been pretty good over the summer. It's been, well, it's on course for being possibly one of the hottest on record. We had 4 heat waves. Temperatures have been over the 30s at points. And a lot of the time temperatures have been around the sort of mid-20s. And with weather like that, of course, you've got to get out and make the most of the outdoors. And I've been filming and photographing a lot on the real railway. And those of you who keep up to date with things, probably difficult to miss. This year is Rail 200, so there was the greatest gathering at Derby. Now, I didn't go to that because originally I would have been working that weekend, so that was going to be out of the question. No point in buying tickets if I was going to be working. But what I have been doing is covering a lot of the workings to and from there. And there have been some pretty amazing workings. All sorts of steam, diesel, electric locos, unit drags, stock moves. Probably one of the most unusual convoys I've ever seen in my life of photographing and filming trains. I captured that. So yes, it's been a very busy period for filming and photographing trains on the real railway, which has taken up a lot of my time, but you've got to do that while the weather's good. There's no point in being in a stuffy, hot model railway room when you can be outside filming and photographing the real thing. There'll be plenty of time to get on in here during the autumn and winter. So another change that happened during the last month or so, for those of you who don't follow me on social media, basically I handed in my notice at my job. I'd been working there for over 23 years, and with previous jobs as well, I've been working 38, 39 years. So I decided, time for a break, time to put myself first for a change. You can call it early retirement if you like. Don't like the sound of retirement too much in a way, but at the moment I'm certainly not planning on working as such, so I can concentrate more of my time on doing what I want to do, which obviously will involve the layout and expanding my photography and video footage of the real trains out on the network, thereby my YouTube channel as well, and I should be looking at various other things to do. I've got a huge selection of photo albums, photos going back from probably about the late 1970s to early 2000s, all of which need scanning, digitising, and then they need uploading, which I'm sure will go on my Flickr. I should probably also do some YouTube compilations of stills of those, because that would probably work quite well for that. So that's a big project there. Lots of other things I want to do around the house and garden as well. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to be bored. So the only time I've really been able to get up on the layout much over the last couple of months, literally probably for sort of the odd 20 or 30 minutes here and there, not enough time to start doing any sort of project as such. So what I have been doing is just running the trains to make sure they're kept well running, trying different combinations of stock as well, because there's not enough room to put all the stock on the layout at once. So I've been bringing some, I won't say new stock out because it's stock I had previously, but new to the layout you may have not seen before, and running those around just to make everything works okay on the various crossovers and sections regarding shorting out or derailments on certain points, which was good to do because it has thrown up a few problems here and there. Most of you will be familiar if you've watched before of the problems I've had down in this section here, but I'll talk about that later on in the video because there's going to be some changes there. There's also been a problem derailing on one of the points at the entry to the fiddly yard, which is right in the foreground of the camera. You won't be able to see at the minute. Basically, I was using a lot of old points from the previous layout, so they're not brand new ones. And I have ordered some new ones to replace those. There's a section behind me as well that needs to be redone as well, and a really bad section of track over that side. But we'll have a look at that in closer detail shortly in the video. Okay, enough talking for now. How about another running session? So hopefully you enjoyed that running session there. I think we'll have another one a little bit later on in the video. But for now, I'd like to talk about DCC decoders. and how I've been fitting them to my locos on the layout. Now, some of the locos I have on the layout are the original DC versions, which take quite a bit of converting to do, and hands up, not attempted to do that myself at all. Obviously, if you buy brand new DCC fitted with all the bells and whistles, they're just literally ready to go. Take them out of the box, program your number in, and you're off and ready and running. And then in the middle, you have some DCC ready locos, which, depending on the type of loco, basically just need a decoded chip putting in them, but there are some different types of decoders. So what I'd like to do now is show you all of those various ones that I have running in one form or another on the layout, and how I've been fitting chips to them. So as far as the decoders or chips, however you want to call them, that I'm using for N-Gage, basically the two you've got here are a typical type of blanking plug. So those what you would have fitted inside your loco that is already DC, but is DCC ready, as they say. So you would literally slide out the blanking plugs and then put in your new DCC decoder. So this is a dapole one, a 6-pin dapole one. Which has, let me check on that one, so that's a 4-function decoder from Dapole, their own brand, which obviously fits Dapole N-Gage locos. Then we have some from Rails of Sheffield here, so that's basically like buying a non-branded version of a decoder. So both of these ones here are 6-pin decoders, so would do the same as the Dapole, but function-wise, these only have 2 functions as well, but it all depends on the actual loco you're using and how much you want it to do the various settings. But obviously, typically, like with buying a lot of non-branded things, you'll find these are potentially a little bit cheaper than buying a branded one. And if they do the job fine and work, then is there any real need to go for the extra anyway? So yep, there's 2 versions of a 6-pin one there, and then that one there is a Next 18, which is a slightly different version. So instead of having obviously like the 6-pin you can see on here, this has the Next 18 implies has 18 little pins, and those sort of push down into the locomotive as opposed to in the side. And then just on the end here we have a couple of very different specific ones, these Kato ones, which look very different to a lot of the other types of decoders. Those 2 I need for fitting in my GWR IET. So that's just a basic overview of the decoders that I'm using to chip my locos with, and in fact some of the ones that I took away to be converted, they were using the Rails decoders as well, so that must be a pretty good one to use. So unless the locomotive you need to chip is something like a DMU, where on some of those the roof section just lifts off, which is quite easy to do, or some of the newer models where actually they've designed it so you pull out a section of the roof of the locomotive. I think that's possibly on some of the Revolution trains ones, and you get access to the chip that way. What you have to do when it comes to changing chips on your locos is take the body off, and that's where these tiny little bits of plastic come in quite useful. May not look much, but they're a big lifesaver when it comes to changing the chips on your locomotives and you have to get the body off. You'll probably find a lot of the older locomotives, the bodies can lift off quite easily. Some of them even barely sit out at all. But if you've got any of the newer versions and over recent years, they're quite tight fitting. And to get them off, it's not just a case of holding the bottom and trying to pull the body off the locomotive. You really need to get underneath it and prise it apart. And that's what these are used for basically. So you would just slide these underneath the sides of the body of the locomotive, and just to help you prise it. They're ever so cheap, got these off eBay. There's a few different suppliers do these and equivalent things. I've seen some people say also using guitar plucks as well is another good way of doing it. But basically you don't want to be using something like a screwdriver. Anything that could easily sort of slip and chip the paint or damage the body of your locomotive. So hence going for these little plastic pieces, anything like that, that's definitely the way to go, which I will try and show you now how they work. So yes, if we take an older style loco like this Farish 47. You can probably see body comes off nice and easily on that. If anything, you want to be sort of fixing that on a bit better for when it's running on your layout. But if you have one like that, no problem, just lift off. You can do what you want. This is one of the ones that I acquired recently that's already been converted and has been chipped. So then we move on to this class 720 I should say. So just initially pulling that, you can see the body's just starting to come off there, but it's a little bit tight. That one didn't come off too bad. You got to be very careful inside there though, because obviously that's got the little bit of a wiring loom there connected for the light, so just be careful when you're pulling them off, because you don't want to be disconnecting the lights. Well, you can plug them back in obviously, but sometimes you can break a wire easily. So then on that one you can probably just see there that has the 6-pin flat chip in, so that is a blanking chip in there at the minute. So to replace that, that's a nice easy job. Basically we'll just slide that one out and then we'll put a new DCC pin in, and then we can program it from there. So again, another class 66, but this one, as you see, I'm just trying to pull that, and that is tight. That is not wanting to come off there. So take one of your little picks, try and find a spot like that. You can just wedge it underneath the side of the body there, and then I get another one, slide it in and alongside. Some of these do wear down a little bit. These, so you can always, you get quite a few in a pack. You probably get a dozen in a pack. Like I said, they're only cheap, so it doesn't break the bank. So that's got in there, and that's give us a little bit of movement there on the body. Certainly on that side, there's 2 in, but we really need to get the other side done now. This is where it does become a little bit tighter, but hopefully you can see that's just starting to free up there. And there we go. Slides out nice and easily. And again, that's another similar one there. Just got the chip in, we can replace that, and that can be DCC ready as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea how easy or not it can be. Some of them are a lot harder to do than that, but yeah, that just gives you an idea of what you need to do to get that off. And like I say, definitely best using something plastic. Don't use something like a metal screwdriver that's going to slip and potentially damage the side of your loco. So what I'll do now is just install a DCC chip in this class 66. So this is a dapole locomotive, so I will use one of the dapole chips for it. So as you see, we've already removed the body on there. So that's the blanking plug in there, which pushes in that way. So all you need to do is slide that out like so, and then we just need to insert a new decoder. So there we are. There are 2 sides to the decoder. I think somewhere on some of them it does say top and bottom, but I can't see anything on this particular one. So I'm going to plug it into the side there. So you're just going to be very careful when you're putting it in not to bend or break any of the pins. So just gently locate it like that and then slide it in. and then that's got in, as you can hopefully see. Now what I'm going to do now is go and put this on the test programming track and just make sure that it registers it for a start and it does work before I put the body back on. So I can just sit the body on top, but I'm not going to clip the body back on just in case there's a problem with it while we go and test it on the test track. So I've got the locomotive sitting on the programming track there. You can probably see there is the lights on at one end there for a start. I'm using the DCC Concepts Aegis system powered with the NC power cab. So what I do on this one is we select the programming track by pressing this button 4 times. It says to use programming track, and then we press enter for OK on that. I'm just doing the standard programming now, so I just press number 1, turns the main line off, and it'll read what's on the programming track. So that gives you the manufacturer's number there, which is, that will be a DAPOL, code for DAPOL. So we just press enter on there. Decoder version, so that particular one is version 4. I'll press enter again. So it's set up address, the short address, press 1, yep, short address. Now that's set as 003, which is standard for a lot of chips basically. I do all my short addresses 003, so if I forget or they go away to be programmed or anything, you always know the short address is 003. So I'll just press enter now to confirm that. Activate this address, yes, press 1. So it's set up a long address now. So this all depends because you get 4 digits, so you can't put the full 66720 in. So what I normally do with my locos, keep a similar pattern that's easy to remember then. So we'll go for 6620. So we're just missing out the 7, so it's basically the first 2 digits giving you the class and then the last 2 digits of the loco. Sometimes you might get clashes obviously with the last 2 digits, so you might just have to be a little bit creative there. But I haven't got any of the locomotives of class 66 that end in 20, so that's fine. So we press enter again, activate this address 1, yep, and that's it. Now I'm not going to bother with configuration settings or anything at the moment. I just want the basic settings to make sure it does work, goes backwards and forwards, etc. So I'll just press the program button twice to come back out of there, and now the locomotive is on the screen, 66720, oh sorry, 6620 I should say. So I'll just press the button and see if it moves. Doesn't have to value stop straight away because my track's probably a bit dirty. Change the direction. Yep. Change the direction again. There we go. So that's fine. That's all good. That works. Looks like the lights are staying on in one end, but not the other. You can probably see from there. That's probably something I need to look at. That could be just an issue with the wiring. But essentially, obviously, we now know the chip works. That's programmed in all fine, and that's ready to go. Right, so as you can see, I've got a number of locomotives and units there that need chips fitting, so I'm going to crack on with that now. There's no point in me going through all of that with you and letting you see every single one I'm doing. Basically, they're all going to be very similar to how the 66 is that I did once the body surprise off. The probably only differences being the multiple units, because I definitely know on the 153 it's the roof you take off on there, which does make it a lot easier to get the chip in. I think the bubble car might be the same as well. But yes, I'm going to crack on with that now, and I'll come back to you when that's all done, and if there's been any problems I will report back. Hopefully there won't be though. So the 5 you can see in front of you there all went fine. They weren't too difficult to get the bodies off. and decoders went in fine, put on the programming track, set up to the relevant numbers and tested, and they all run fine. So yep, no problem on that score. We did have a few issues on some others though. First one I'm going to go is the Colas 70. For the life of me, I have not been able to get the body off that. I've tried really hard. I'm going to say hard. Obviously, I'm being sort of fairly gently to get it off, and it does not want to budge. And obviously, I'm very reluctant to try and force it because I don't want to break it, because it is a lovely detail model. So for now, we're going to put that to one side. We'll come back to that later. Also on the Class 70s, this Freightliner one I had. Now, this one does not work with a chip in it, so I put the blanking plug back in there and put it onto the standard DC track and tried to run that, and it barely runs. So something gone wrong with the motor on that. It looks like it's seizing up a bit. So not an issue with the chip on that one. So obviously that one just needs to be repaired. Might have to take that one away. This Power Hall Class 66, that was an interesting one. Took that, went to put the chip in it, didn't work, said it wouldn't read the CV. Tried another chip in it, and it started smoking. A little bit of smoke started coming out from somewhere, so quickly, well, the power did cut it off, luckily that strayed away anyway. So took the decoder chips out, put the blanking plug back in, put it on the standard DC track, and it works fine. So I am very confused what's wrong with that one at the moment. It's another one I think we'll have to come back to. And then Class 58, took me ages to get the body off that. It is a really tight fit to get that off on there. Really awkward. Did the same again, tried that with a couple of chips and it would not run. So I went back to the blanking plug in it and put it on the DC track, and it wouldn't run at all. Didn't move, no sign of life at all, which is bizarre because it was working fine on the DC track before. What I probably should have mentioned is it's, as it says in the instructions, you should make sure that the locomotives work on standard DC before you try them, fitting them with the DCC decoder, which I had done on all of those. So yeah, that's thrown up a few issues there. But for now, I've got 5 there, extra additions to go on the layout. So these 4 locos here are new additions since the last upload you will have seen. They're all ground farish models, all the old era, the pool era as they're sometimes known as. So they all would have needed converted to DCC to run on my layout, but these had already been converted to DCC with chips in. They were all eBay purchases. Yes, some of them got the odd little thing wrong with them. We need sort of a coupling putting on the 50 and the 47 there. The box is a little bit loose under there, but I've got another one of those I can put on, or it could just be glued on. And the 47, a little bit of a non-standard livery there. But the point is with these, each one of these locos, give or take a few pence, only cost me £45 each. Now for a DCC fitted ready loco, whatever you want to call that, you can't really beat that, to be honest. If I was to go and get any one of my old DC locos converted, you're talking say about £25 roughly, if we say, for a decoder to go in it. Then there's the time for the person to do all the work that needs doing to it, which you're probably looking at £20 an hour, we'll say, like that. Then there's my time and the cost of fuel to actually go and drive there to drop the locomotives off, which for me is going to be somewhere in the sort of Peterborough or Leicester areas. And then of course to go back at another point and go and collect them as well. There's your time and fuel there as well. So for the price of £45 each, you really can't go wrong. And although I already have, for instance, a 50 in that livery and a 47 in that livery, what I can do with that is some of the other locos I've got that I were going to get converted to DCC, I'm just going to take the bodies off those and swap them onto these for now. And then straight away, for instance, that one's probably going to become a Fragonset 47. That one will probably become a Res 47. Probably an RFD 47 for that one. And the 50, I've got a different network Southeast body that I can put on that one. So yeah, for that price, you can't go wrong. I saw these running as well. They sell on eBay for at least 3 of the locos, but running videos online as well. So I could see that they run and all worked fine. So yeah, really good buy. Really happy with all of those. So they pretty much, once I swap the bodies, they'll be going straight on the layout as well. So hopefully that gave you an idea there of how easy, or maybe how easy it isn't, to fit decoders to your locomotives. N-gauge obviously very fiddly compared to a double O gauge, and you have to be really careful when it comes to taking the bodies off, certainly on the newer locomotives. The older ones, they do tend to seem to slip off a lot easier. But at the end of the day, you've got to sort of weigh the balance up for cost. As I mentioned there, some of the locos I managed to find on eBay that had been DCC converted, I was picking up at a cost of around about £45 each, and you really can't grumble at that. A decoder, you're probably looking at sort of £20 or £25. Brand new DCC fully fitted loco, well, you could be talking 150 plus, 200 plus if you want sound and everything on anyway. So you've really got to balance the cost out. And for me being here where I am, it's got to be at least a 2-hour round trip to somewhere that would convert older DC locos to DCC. So you've got to weigh the time it's going to take me, the cost in fuel, the cost of a chip, so you're saying £25 for a chip basically to put in it, and then whatever the hourly rate is, which you're probably talking maybe about £20 an hour. So you've just got to weigh it up basically and decide which is best for you. And if you can find one that's running, and especially on eBay, if you see somebody who's done a video of it running and it looks and sounds fine, then there's no reason not to go for those locos. Anyway, let's have a look at some of those locos now in another running session. So whilst running the locomotives and stock around during the last couple of months, I have been pondering a couple of little changes to improve things. One of those areas being the bi-directional freight line and loop that goes by the station here. We've had a few problems with the crossovers in the past, but also I wasn't really happy with the loop itself. I wanted it to be a bit longer, but I was struggling to think of a way how to do it. But I've come up with a plan for that now, so let's go and take a look at that. So one of the projects that I need to get on with is a bit of track relaying and alterations. So basically on the crossovers here, this point here, it's not one of the new ones, it is an older one, and it's not 100%, it's not great on the connection. And then also this one here, I'm having trouble with that as well. So I'm going to replace both of those with brand new points. Then also, which has been in ever since I actually laid the track, just here, that particular rail there, that's not actually in the fish plate. So there's a bit of a jump there. You probably can't quite make that out, but so that needs to come out and be realigned, which obviously means lifting a little bit of track to do it. But that doesn't really matter because that line there has been awful for a while now. Hasn't got a very nice curve on it at all. I think, especially though you can see it's terrible, but the trains do actually run on it. I think that's possibly because I made it too tight and didn't allow for any expansion and it bowed out a bit. But again, as I've got to take that out to get into that point and realign that, that's not a problem. And also then related to that, an area which I've been talking about for a while, if you've been watching the videos, is this section here where I'm getting shorts and I'm not entirely sure that the layout there is doing everything I want for me. So as I mentioned, as I've got to at least take that out there, and also that'll involve disconnecting from that point there to realign this rail here. What I've decided to do is change the layout here. So rather than that point coming off there, which feeds the, that's the, I can get this the right way around, that is the up main line. And then the island platform there for terminating trains or local trains. I'm going to, as part of the relaying, when I take this curve out, I'm going to put a point in just here, possibly a right-hand curve to start off the curve a bit easier. And then that will bring a line which will then run into the platform from here. So you won't have that point there or that point there upon the main line, which will actually give me like a straighter running the platform without the curve. Also allow me to extend this platform this way if I want as well, which I think I probably will. And then also at the same time, I'm basically going to bring this junction area here back. So excuse the crudely laid on points, but basically you can see that here by bringing the points back this way, which is essentially this pair of points just here, that's going to extend this line here. So the actual length of that loop between the Voyagers and the Class 66s there will increase. So I can hold a longer train in there without it impeding on any of the tracks that go by. And all that effectively means is the siding here, which has got the loco stroke carriage wash in it, will just be a little bit shorter, which is not a problem because you can easily fit at least 2 locomotives behind there anyway. And then also what that will do, again, excuse the crudeness of that point on there, which is effectively this one here, that will bring me a gap between the depot entrance sidings there and the fueling point and the run round loop, so that you'll be able to hold a locomotive there. So you can bring anything off the depot and stop there, and then you shunt back onto the fuel line, or shunt up into the fiddle yard or onto the back of a train again, and you won't be impacting on either the stabling line or the bi-directional freight line. So that should give me more flexibility there. I was considering just bringing this section back completely without having a plain piece of track in there, which would then mean the depot, I can extend that. So effectively then you'd have an extra space there for stabling. Another 2 locos in front of those, making the shed a bit longer if you wanted as well, would be the other option. But I've decided against that. Plenty of room for locos in there, and the better flexibility that will give me to be able to shunt trains around the depot, often on the fuel line, in and out the washing point, or while still being able to run trains by behind on the bi-directional freight line, I think will be much better. So that curve point there, which is on the down main line, that needs to be taken out. That's causing me lots of problems. Again, it's not a new point, it's an older one, and the connections aren't very good. And certainly when anything's going into the loop, you lose all the power. So I'm going to change that one. There is one on the inside there again, which is another old one, which power-wise is okay. But I am getting certain locos or stock derail on that. So I might consider changing that one. But at the moment, I'm not too worried about that. But again, just another little track work project to do. And again, linked in with that, another one that I missed and has been liking it all the time there. That's another one there where I've actually missed the fish plate. So there's actually a step in the rail on that far rail there. But nothing's ever derailed on it, bizarrely and luckily enough. But again, if I'm taking the bits up, I'll just fix that in and make a proper job of that at the same time. So yes, hopefully you can see there has been some progress on the layout during the last couple of months. Maybe not as much as would have been expected, but with the weather being so nice outside, you have got to make the most of it. We're hitting the autumn now, so you'd expect the weather to get a bit worse with some windier and wetter days. And of course, the evenings are starting to close in a bit now, so there will be more time to spend on the layout. And of course, now that I have a lot more time on my hands anyway, that just gives me a lot more opportunities to do more on the layout when I want and tackle the bigger projects. But for now, I just want to concentrate on making sure I can get near to 100% as possible perfect. The track layout, wiring, make sure all the locomotives and stock run round fine and don't derail before I even think about the ballasting or scenery side. But there are bits I can do, such as the town over there. I can start work on that separately, and possibly the tunnel section behind, because that will be related to the track, how that goes as well. So yes, basically there's going to be a lot more to come still, so I hope you'll stay tuned for all of that. So thank you for watching and staying with me right till the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. It would be much appreciated and always helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, that subscribe button is down there. It's absolutely free, it doesn't cost you anything. And also if you click the bell notification icon, you will get updated every time I upload a new movie, whether that be on the layout or out in the real world. But for now, I will say thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.